faffing around for ages trying to figure out a way to make it an engine mount there at the top, and I just can't come up with anything, so I decided to get rid of it all and I'll start again, but from the bottom with something I do know, and I've come up with a bit of a cunning plan. I don't know if it'll work or not, but this is 19 mil, right? And soft as, like it's no strength at all. But this here, reasonably thick and good quality, and that's 16 mil. I measure at the end here, and that's about 1.5. So theoretically, I'm gonna have to cut this because the blower sits there. But theoretically, wherever I cut it, I can jam that into it. It doesn't look like it'll fit now, but mathematically, I'll be able to jam that right up there. And then I have the bit of a recess here. I could make something that doesn't look so intrusive, that follows the line here to give it strength this way, and a bit of a something that way. And then that jam full of something that way, I could make that stronger. And it could do the job, and I wouldn't have to bother with any kind of a, I just make it look standard and once again, just sort of be there. So I think I'll cut it and see what I can do. I'll cut out a template of what I think needs to go, like, so that goes up in that recess in there. See that recess? So that goes up inside there like that. And then I'm going to cut it out a bit of angle iron, work my way around, cut the strips out, bend it, that's the plan. And then I'll sort out what I can do with it from there. Well, I've made it. I've got to solder that in there like that. That runs around there like that. I made one mistake right there. Shouldn't have cut that one out. It was looking good and I thought I'd just get slightly better. But I'll come back to that. I may be cutting that off. I've got a little bit longer here because I found this area here which I can tap and put a thermostat in, which is close to the exhaust. Looks like a flat area. I could build that up with JB Weld or whatever, but I'd need some kind of a guard, so I'll leave that there, and I may even make a guard, because the last thing I want to do is get a bit of rock and smash a thermostat off and water straight out and gone. So I'll just get this off. Hang on. Now that is the piece. I've cleaned it up so that I can weld it, because I've had to take the galvanizing off. I cleaned along that line on the inside there, because that's where I'm going to weld it. I'm going to have to weld all the way across the ingrinder back, both sides, just to make it nice and strong. And what have I got going on here? Wait a sec. Oh, wrong side. And this here, I'm going to have to do some kind of a something there. I don't know yet, but I think it'll be a piece running out this way. And then I'll have like 2 bolts and maybe something slotting there. The reason why is because ultimately, if this section here will be gone and it'll be pushing down on it. So the weak spot, that's strong, like that is that way. That's not going to bend that way. I don't need to worry about going sideways. That's why I've cut that off and I'll weld along there. See, the metal's twice thickness. They're 3 times thickness actually. Base plate, and that bent down, doubled over on itself, so it's 3 thicknesses of weak metal. So that'll be like welded along there. I'll grind that chrome off it, but the weak point will be here, because it'll be the pivot point. Whatever I have there will be pushing down like that, and it'll be strong this way, so it won't be able to bend. Especially if I put a bit of pipe inside there, that won't bend. that won't bend, so the weak point is where it attaches. So I have to make this part strong to be resistant to bend this way. So I will do that. Now it's just a matter of grinding along here where the blue is, and then welding it on, and then, weld this first, grind it back, and then weld that on with my magical welding. So here we go. The first rough stage is done, and just to give you an idea, the movement is not along there anymore, it's about there. So I just pulled this on here. Well, you can't see it, but I can feel it, and I can feel it right being about there. So when I put that rod in there, then do something, that should fix that up. Now, just an example of how fantastic my welding is. It doesn't really matter, it's done the job, so I'm pretty happy with that. I'll polish that with something and make it the same colour as that so it largely disappears. Remember, I'll trim this somehow. I've got to figure out what I want up this end yet. I'll trim that, something like that. So now I've got to work on some kind of a locking mechanism. I cut this section out, basically where I think it's going to go, there. And my idea that this piece would fit in there is correct. Now what I've got to do is, because that sort of tightens up here, I'll show you what I mean, tightens up, so it comes together. All I've got to do is get that piece of steel and sort of pre-shape it a bit so it goes down as far as possible. And then I can cut that off, weld it, do whatever I want. I've been banging on this just to get the shape down. As you can see, it's sort of bent it in like that, and I wanted to flare out, so I ground it a bit and whatever. But I marked it there. That's how far it'll go in first time. But through banging and shaping, I've now got it down to there, which is down to the weld and above the weld on the other side. So if I just push this in now, it's a bit tight. Oops. Right, so that's the spot it wants to go. This is the final one, so that's it. Right, doesn't want to go any further. Still will come out, and I've sprayed lanolin in there too, just to stop it from wanting to rust inside. Well, I'll cut that off, and then I can do whatever. I'll have enough strength to weld through nice and tight, and whatever kind of a bracket I need to make there, I can make now. I cut this piece out, then I shoved the tube in there. I measured, broke it down and shoved the tube in there. Now I just want to spot weld around the outside to weld the two different tubes together to make them strong. That's 4 mil now total, like 1 mil and 3 mil thereabouts, or 1.5, but it's 4 mil in total. And just by welding the end, like spot welding, it just sort of combines the two together and makes them one. And I'm quite happy with how strong that is. It just feels solid, you know, it just has that nice feel to it. So there's a lot of strength in that now, where this on its own, tinny. Nothing. Well, it's done. I've finally finished the bottom engine mount. It was a bit of an ordeal, but I've got there. I could have done it better, maybe different ways. I don't know. I did it. What I've done is I had that tube. It's bent this way. I welded this bit of box section on there and trimmed it to, how do I get that? Bit of light on there, and I trimmed it, and it's not quite, it's a washer on this side to make it fit nicely. That I'll probably need for something else, and I'll put a longer one through there. Got a nut. I've did it on the inside. It's tricky to get it in there, but I can take the bolts out, and then I can move the whole blower forward like this to take the belt off, but I can take the belt off other ways anyway. So it's done. Another thing, like, this is all working. This bar goes to about there, also a bit further, and I've got another bit of bar welded to here which is really thick, and that's a 4mm one, and that runs all the way up to here, and then 2 bolts. So my thinking is that like that's double lined inside there, so that's strong. That's this way, so I can't bend that way. So I'm thinking that's the weak spot. So that's why I made it a bit stronger there. Also, if you remember ages ago, I said about how that in there, how this shaft is quite long and it's unsupported, and I can just imagine me getting excited, you know, banging through gears, hitting the nitrous button, all sorts, and just getting confused and pressing too hard on the gear lever. Well, now that's about 1mm off. It's about 1mm off, but if I was to see, it's got a bit of movement in it. If I was to get overexcited and slam my foot on it, it would take it up. So that's got it. As far as how straight it runs, that's the same all the way along. So I'm happy with how it's all sitting. So now I'll flip the whole thing over and I'll do the top ones.